If you're an apparel brand owner and you are reviewing and approving samples over WhatsApp, you are at risk of spending thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars on bulk production for products that are going to come out wrong. If you are in the habit of receiving a sample from your manufacturer and then getting immediately onto WhatsApp or WeChat or any sort of direct messaging platform and sending them very vague voice notes, photos, texts, saying things like, oh, fabric feels cheap, fabric feels thick, fabric needs to be lighter. Whether you're running a 6-figure, 7-figure, and even 8-figure business, if your sample review process is not solid, you are essentially opening yourself up to a tremendous amount of risk. So even if you have a great tech pack and you have actually gone through the sampling process and gotten a sample with your manufacturer, which is exactly why in this episode I'm going to be breaking down for you why sample feedback over WhatsApp and WeChat is broken, what the proper process of giving sample feedback effectively is, and how to ultimately update your process that you're currently using so that way you're not flying blind. What is the best way to give this sample feedback so that you can actually take your sample and perfect it the right way without spending months, weeks, and hundreds of dollars resampling and recreating it. This is what I call as the 5F method that I've developed at my company. It stands for the 5 things or categories that you need to look for in your sampling and your feedback process. So before we get into the 5 Fs, let's actually look at what the actual risk is of using very vague terminology on WhatsApp. The sample arrives, you try it on, and you send the factory a quick message that says something along the lines of, the waist needs to be tighter, logo needs to be smaller, move it up a little bit. All of these words are quite vague. As humans, we tend to use language to communicate, and the more specific the language, the better the results and the better the understanding. If you leave things up to interpretation, then you're going to get a result that is also up to interpretation and how the other person perceives it. So be specific with your language. So let's look at this. First thing that you need to see when you receive the product, is it exactly the same fabric that you have specified in your tech pack? Is the GSM right? Are the compositions right? What happens when you actually use it? Does it stretch correctly? Does the fabric pill after a couple of washes? You need to try it on. You need to conduct movements in it. You need to stretch around. You need to move. Is the garment suited for the intended use it is the fabric functioning the way it needs to? So not only are we looking at the fabric and we're making sure that it is as intended, but we also need to make sure that the fabric is performing as we intended as well. The second thing that we're going to have is the fit. Fit is going to be key. If you have a proper tech pack that's been done, what and how the garment is fitting and how it actually performs. If I have an oversized piece, do I have enough room in the chest, enough room in the waist? Is the sleeve long enough? Also, all of the ways that the garment is meant to be used. Also, does a size medium fit the way that a size medium should fit? Is it true to size? I might want to get someone who is a average height of a size medium and the average weight of a size medium and represents a similar physical build to the type of customer avatar that I have. That is why I recommend always order the sample in a consistent size that is your size or the model size that you're going to be using to test the fit. Also, my recommendation when looking at something like a t-shirt, go through the different measurements, put the t-shirt on, test out the width measurements. How does the chest fit? Is it too tight? Is it too loose? How's the waist fit? Does it have too much fabric? Does it have too little fabric? The sleeve, is it too long? Is it too short? If your issue is with the chest, then you might say, I need to increase the chest by 0.5 inches on a size medium. So it goes from 19.5 to 20 inches on the half chest. And then you may also need to specify that the waist and the bottom half of it will also be changed. Because let's just say you make a huge adjustment onto the chest. My recommendation is if you're going to increase the chest half width, you need to drop the armhole a little bit, assuming that the armhole wasn't already dropped too much. Same is true with the sleeve length. Same is true with the collar. All of these things play into each other. Next up, we have the function. Now that the garment has gone from a design, which is digital, to something physical, does the garment actually function as intended? Do the zippers flow correctly? Like, are they positioned in a way where it's ergonomic to move them around? Do the hood cords, whether the drawstrings or the waist cords, do they fall down too much? Are they too short? These are the things that you need to be looking through. And the easiest framework is this. If I'm designing a running short and a swimming short are going to be completely different. A running short is going to have to be put through different motions than a swimming short. So I will require different things of it. Next up is the finesse. Finesse is basically the challenge of translating something that's digital or 2D or 3D into something that's physical. Does the paneling look like what you have on your mockup? Does the seam lines follow the shapes and contours of your body in a flattering way. When you're dealing with Adobe 2D mockups, this is where you open yourself up to a lot of potential downfalls. You're essentially relying on something that's 2D to be translated into 3D, and you're not actually able to make that bridge or that gap. That's why working with a professional will allow you to cut out a lot of these finesse issues by showing you what the finished garment is going to look like in 3D before you actually make it in the real physical world. And next up, we have the finishing. And this is going to come down to the quality, the craftsmanship. When you look at a garment, all of the different ways that the garment is put together, how it's finished on the edges, how it's stitched together. Are the stitches consistent? Are they clean? Are they using the correct finishing methods on the fabric, on the actual garment finishing itself, on, like, let's just say on the edges of the garment? The finishing is the first thing that people are going to look at when evaluating the quality and the craftsmanship. You don't want messy finishing. You don't want crooked seams. You don't want things that are tearing or ripping apart. Are the hems done properly? So how do we actually apply this feedback? I'll go through first the fit, the fabric, the function, the finesse, and I will actually give images that illustrate the changes that need to be made. I'll go through first all of the fit adjustments. So if I'm increasing the width measurements of the chest, the waist, and the bottom, yes, that's considered one change, and I can mention that all in one image. Then I move on to point number 2, which is maybe the sleeve length. We'll move on to point number 3, which is maybe the perpendicular armhole depth. Then I might move on to the function, where I'm mentioning something about the zipper not functioning correctly. So I will mention that as well, and I'll mark that on there. I'll show the original seams, and I'll mark in red where the seams need to be moved onto. So I'll have text and I'll have an image. I'll use the text to elaborate and to describe what I want to do. And then I will use the image to mark on the image what needs to happen. And of course, the image should be in good, consistent lighting that's neither too cold or too warm. So neutral lighting so that the colors can be represented correctly. I'll make sure that I mention the model measurements, the height and the weight for future reference. Ultimately, I will save the tech pack as a version 2 and I will send that. And if I have a version 3 of the tech pack because of a new sample that's received, I will have that. And I'll go all the way up until I approve the sample to move into actual production, and I'll call that the production pack. So ultimately, guys, your first sample should move you forward. It shouldn't move you sideways or even backwards. If your sample feedback process is vague, it's not specific, this can actually cause you more harm than it actually solves you. You want to make sure that you're building on each sample, not going backwards. And if you end up giving the wrong feedback and factories misinterpret that, you might as well have burnt that sample and you might as well have burnt your time and your effort. That's why we need to use each sample as a stepping stone towards the perfect final product. And believe me, we've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of products using this sample feedback method, and it has never failed us, and we've refined it over time. If you guys want me to drop a sort of tutorial video on how I actually go through and make this sample feedback step by step, let me know in the comments below. Consider smashing a massive thumbs up. And if you want my personal opinion and input on how you can improve your sample feedback process so you can go through fewer rounds of samples, get to market faster, and with much less headache, then you can check the link in the description to apply to work with me one-on-one. I offer consultation calls every single week. My slots are limited, but I would be more than happy to hop on that call for you. Guys, I say this from the very bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Fit Design TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.